are going to discuss the Scrum workflow. So this will be in terms of the fundamental, and once we are done, we will be talking about the JIRA tool, and this workflow we will try to the replicate into the JIRA tool. So first we are trying to understand how the entire the workflow works, and then it will be easy for us to replicate and use these the same steps into the JIRA tool. Okay, so what we discuss as of now, like we discuss, okay, we start with the problem statement, and then if we are following, let's say, Agile or Scrum, then based on those problem statement, we discuss with the stakeholder and try to create the backlog item. Now, what are those backlogs? As we discussed, like there can be new item, there can be the bug, there can be
enhancements,
those type of things. And then we create the user story out of that. So we create, let's say, a couple of the user story, and then those can be functional, those can be technical, and then they can be the bugs, improvement, all those. And then as per the priority, what we discussed, like you take them into the sprint. And what is the sprint? Again, it is a time duration which you are trying to deliver those deliverables. So whether it is a 2 week, 3 weeks. So these are the things we discuss as of now.
Correct.
But what happens once, let's say you estimated, and then that part also we discuss, like we do the estimation, and then we assign those user story to the respective developer, and then you take those user story and you start the sprint, right? So till there, what we discuss, and then we have been discussing these Scrum ceremonies. So what happens once we start the sprint? That's where this particular Scrum workflow comes into picture. Okay. So that is the one part. Now you will see, like different Scrum team, they follow the kind of the very type of this Scrum workflow. Maybe not all of them they are following the same structure, but if you just have a look onto Scrum, the organization or the recommendation by the SAFe and Scrum Alliance, those are the standard governing bodies. They say these type of the basic structure you should have into your the workflow. So quickly show you how it will look. That's how it will look like. Okay. So for example, when we are starting a particular user story, it will be available into this to do. So this is one swim line. So whatever the task or the user story or the bug which you are trying to deliver into this particular sprint, in this scenario, this is the sprint 6. So when we are going to start, all of these tickets, we call the JIRA tickets, they will be available under this particular swim line. Okay.
Right.
Another point, a particular JIRA ticket will have only a one, the single status, which means if it is under to do, it can't be available at the same time into the InProgress, code review, and done, or like that, right? Another scenario, if you have a look onto this one, this team, they are following just 4 swim line. What they are following the to do, and then they have the InProgress, they have the code review, and they have the done. But what we are going to discuss, we are saying, like, you follow instead all these 6 to 7 different swim line. So it is easy for you to convey a particular status on time. So for example, let's say this is saying there is a one swim line which is called as a hold, or some other people they call like blocker or impediments or like that. But now looking into this one, you can't say if something's wrong is happening with a particular JIRA ticket, then who is the resolving that, and what is the current status going on, that we can't say anything out of this, right?
Got it.
So now what happens, let's say we are going to discuss one by one. So to do InProgress, hold, review, rework, you should remember these things. And when you implement the same project into the JIRA, it will be pretty much easy to, recall those things.
Okay, sure.
So let's say, any question as of now, is it?
If we go to that image one time.
Yeah.
Sandeep. Now, if you see, there are issues. There are people working in different swim lanes. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's say you've finished working on that specific task.
Okay.
Let's say from to do, it needs to, like, it has been assigned to somebody.
Yeah.
A person has taken. Now, how will that be? I mean, as a BA, what will be my role here? So I will choose the person who is going to work on this particular issue, and automatically it will go to that person. So it will be still in to do. Am I correct to understand?
Yeah. So how it will work? So let's say 2-3 things. First thing, like you ask about in terms of the BA, like, what will be your responsibility or what will be your take on that particular ticket. And the second thing, once this is assigned to, let's say, this person. So for example, let's say this person is Amit, and then you are working with your BA, and TIS 68 is assigned to this particular person. Okay.
Correct.
Now your responsibility, again, if you are just playing the role of the BA, that means you are going to make sure, like, this person is understanding the requirement point of view, he's pretty much, the clear what is expected out of this ticket, and then he's ready in terms of acceptance criteria, definition of ready, and all those things. Anyway, they are already available, because without them, you can't include this particular issue into the sprint, right? So now the individual person who is got assigned, we call the owner of that particular the bug or the user story or the task, whatever the ticket, the type is there. So this is the owner. Now, this is the responsibility of this particular owner. Like if let's say this is like 3-pointer, this one, let's say, and this moment this person started working on this, ideally within, let's say, 2-3 days, this task, they should get closure. And now if it is not moving ahead, now if you are just playing the role of the BA, then your responsibility to make sure he is clear and have all the access regarding the requirements, and there is nothing, the dependency on you. But if you are playing the role of, let's say, Scrum Master also, then you will keep an eye and you will check like, boss, your ticket is stuck into InProgress, or it is stuck into the code review. Why you are not updating the status? So the individual status update is the responsibility of the person who has been assigned that particular ticket. As a BA or as a Scrum Master, you will not update the status on behalf of them.
Got it. So the person working on a specific ticket will move it from InProgress to code review or things of that sort.
Okay. Yeah, and how they will move, we will discuss now. Like what is the process, the sequence they will take to move those tickets.
Okay, sure. Thanks. Yeah.
So now let's say, for example, this is the sprint 1, and these are the couple of the user stories which we are taking, as we discussed, S221, S5, S221. This can't be the same. This will be different. And now they never will be the same, because remember, like we have been discussing, they are the kind of, the ID just to identify this particular user story, and they will always be a kind of primary key and the unique value. Okay, and definitely you will be having some unique identification. Another point, if you see here, the insert here, this can be a label or the epic, or let's say you can put it as a version 1, version 2, version 3, like that. So just to differentiate them. Now, what is the purpose? The purpose, like once you come back here and you are trying to, do quick filter and those type of the things, like only the things, or let's say only the deliverable which we are taking as part of the release 1, right? So it will be easy for you to do the release planning when you are going to, launch the product, or you are, and do the UAT testing and do the production testing and all those things. We'll discuss in later during the testing. But for now, it will be easy for you to the release planning and all those things. Another point, let's say you are doing the bug. So you'll say, okay, bug, but the bug is found into the production. Now, when you are doing the audit into the organization, audit means like how you are performing as a team, whether you are following the best practices or not, and then what is the code quality and those type of the things. So it will be easy for you to recall the things, like these are the only 5 bugs you found last year into the production environment, and these are the steps which you have taken. So everything you will be documenting into this particular user story. What were the steps you have taken? What were the analysis you have done? What was the outcome of that? Who was the kind of, the impacted user? What was the business loss or client concern? Everything you will document it here. So when the audit happens, you can show, okay, these are the type of the things which we have discussed. And here is the kind of, the proof for that, like we are following the best practices or the Agile, the kind of, the things into the development, right?
Okay.
So what happens here, you use these type of just to, the differentiate them. Now, let's say the moment you are taking these, the different user story, and we already discussed this point, like you will do the estimation based on to, the pocket planning. And then let's say this is the 5, 3, and these are the individual person they are assigned, Shruti, and then Avinash, or like that. So that part we already discussed. Now, once you hit that start button, all these tickets by default, they will go under to do. The moment as a Scrum Master, you click on that start button, which we discussed before.
Start sprint plan, the current sprint.
Yeah, this one. So till now, this is where we discussed. The moment you click on the start button, all these deliverables, which are user story, if you see this particular symbol is for the user story. So in the Alpha Squad Sprint 11, we are taking 4 different issues. And then they are total estimation is the 18 point. That means for the current sprint, by doing the total of these story points, we are taking as a 18. So that is your estimated velocity. This point we already discussed, Vijay, right?
Yes.
And the moment you hit this start button here, all these tickets, they will be available into to-do status in the Scrum workflow by default.
Got it. That was my question. Sure.
Yeah. So here they will come. There will be nothing into InProgress, code review, and done. All these tickets by default, they will come under to-do. Now the individual person, they will see how many tickets which are assigned to me, and then what is the priority for them. So let's say if this person is, they're having 3 different, the user story, all of them, they are available under to do. Now you might ask this question like, which one should I start? And now those particular things, the technical lead or the Scrum Master or the BA, you can get in touch. And then you can ask like, anyway, they already planned this thing during the sprint planning, like what is the dependency, user story, or which is the priority, the high priority, medium, low, and those type of stuff. And then this person will start usually working at a single ticket at a time. But there is no hard and fast rule. They might work on to a couple of other things also. But that is recommended, like you try to work on one, try to finish it, and then take the another one.
Sure.
Understanding? And now how they will do? So for example, let's say this person, Shruti, started working on this one, and then she will move this user story. So let's say, for example, this was available here earlier. That's what things available under to, and nothing will be available into these status. Okay,
makes sense.
So nothing will be available here. Everything is available under to do. Now let's say this person is started working on Avinash into this user story. So what he will do, he will remove that ticket from the to do, and he will put under in progress status here. So which means this S5 will have only one status. Now it is having the in progress status rather than the to do status. Now if other tickets they are assigned to this guy, they might still be available under to do, and they are not related to the other person. This person having a separate ticket, whenever he's ready or still he's enjoying his life, he will start when he's ready or when the priority comes for this particular user story.
Makes sense.
And now in terms of the JIRA, how you will do, you will just drag and drop from here like this and move this from the to do to in progress.
Okay.
And we will see it once we will use the JIRA tool. You will see like it's quite, the easy, but you will drag and drop from here, and then you will move this, the TIS 68, which is available right now under to do, and it will go into the in progress status.
Okay, got it. Sure.
Similar way, and which we already discussed, who will move this? The person who is the owner of that particular.
Owner of it. Yeah.
Okay. So this is quite straightforward. Now let's say this person has done working onto this particular user story. Avinash is done on this one, and then he will move this particular under code review. So what is happening into the code review? This can be done by the any peer developer or the tech lead in the developer. Okay. So for example, we are deciding like Avinash is the technical lead, and he is doing the code review for all the developer in the team. That is the additional responsibility this guy is playing, right? Now, what will happen? Two situations will happen. If everything is okay, when we are doing the code review, what they will check? They will check whether the code this person has written. So for example, let's say they want to upload the image from the computer so that the insert image can be added into the Word document. So for example, let's say this is the particular functionality this person have developed, right? By looking onto the UI or doing the testing, everything seems okay. You see like, okay, the image is getting uploaded. And then when you are trying to, the reload the document, this is coming. When you are doing the logout, you are coming back, still it is available. So pretty much, everything seems okay. But chances are there, it might be storing the 2 different, the copies into the database. Or maybe it is storing to, let's say, all the user who are having the access into this Word document into their database and their respective user, the table. So what they have to do, they have to check that validity and the kind of, whether that logic is appropriate or not. And can they improve that code quality for that particular piece of the code which this person has written? And that's why they will do the peer review. That means they will check, you have written the code, it's working fine, but I need to have a second opinion. How can we improve the code quality, code coverage, those sort of the things.
Okay.
Because simply go ahead.
In a situation where they find that maybe you will answer this question in your further statement, but if let's say they find the issue there, it's there in peer review, what happens? Will they move it back to do?
I will discuss that. Sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So what happens? It makes sense, because let's say if I found the issue, so here 2 scenarios will happen. If everything is okay as per the best practices, technical plus functional, that means from the technical point of view, this guy will suggest you, because he's a technical lead, so he's aware like pretty much what is expected in terms of the code quality. And functionality wise, let's say as a BA, you have written the requirements, and then maybe this person Avinash can discuss with you like, this is what you expected. Is this what is, as per the acceptance criteria and those type of things. And then you'll say, yes, it is, the matching all the acceptance criteria. From the code quality point of also, this is fine. Now everything is okay. So this feedback is fine. The code review is done. But let's say the code needs improvement. And that's where your question comes. So in this scenario, what this person do now, who is doing the code review? Now Avinash was doing the code review. Maybe let's say this user story was assigned to Amit, just to make it easy. So Amit was working on this user story and Avinash was doing the code review for this one. So now Avinash will move this user story from the peer review and then he again put it back into the rework.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because there are some, the improvements is expected from this person, Amit.
Got it.
So here, the moment we'll do the Avinash, because Amit can't do. He assigned to the Avinash and that guy was doing the code review and then Avinash will move into the rework. This is clear, I hope?
Yes.
Now what will happen, the moment this ticket is moving into the rework, this person will get a notification into the email and to the JIRA, like this user story have some comment and these are the, the peer review comments and your task is moved to the rework. Now it is time for you to check it again and kind of, they resolve all those comments or the feedback which this person Avinash has given to you. So now again, this becomes the responsibility of this person, Amit.
Okay.
Because why? Because this user story is assigned to this
person.
And he is the owner and this user story is still under rework. That means he didn't work properly or some of the pieces he missed and now he need to work them again. Right? So what he will do, he will remove from here. Now Amit will remove from the rework and he will put it back into the in progress again.
Correct.
So it is like back and forth. It will go until it, it is. So like again, it is in progress. Now this guy will check all the comments. What were the comments, the provided by the Avinash? Check them one by them. If it is required, he can discuss the approach with Avinash. If it is required from the, let's say, the functional point of view, he can discuss with you as a BA. And now let's say this time he is thinking like everything is fine. Now again, it will go under peer review again. Okay.
Right.
Now let's say same process they will repeat again. Avinash again will do the review. If everything is working fine, then go to the next step. If you require improvement, again it will go to the rework.
Got it. Sure.
Now let's say this time everything is working fine. So Avinash will remove from here rework, the code review, and he will put under testing part of it here.
Sure.
So it will come under testing. Now in the testing, let's say, as we discussed, if you are playing just the role of the BA, then there will be other functional or, the kind of, the manual automation, the tester will be there in your team. And maybe other time you outsource also for this testing and just somebody else outside of your team, they are just doing the testing and verification. So it depends on to the organization, the structure and the project. But let's say the QA is there, then he or she will check like what are the user story which are available under testing swim line. So for example, let's say if this swim line is the testing. So code review swim line here, Avinash will check, okay, what are the user stories are available under code review. That is the responsibility of the Avinash. He need to look into all these user story and make sure like their status is updated. If they required the rework, move them into the rework. If they are okay, then move them into the next step. So that is the responsibility of the code reviewer person. Now similar, just imagine this is the testing. So the moment it is testing, now it is the responsibility of the testing team. They need to see like how many user stories they are available under testing phase. And they will check them one by one and try to update the status.
Okay, sure. So if there are issues and found by the testing team, what happens then? Which status will they move it to? They will move it to again
rework. Again, it will go back to the rework. So they will provide the comments like out of those 4, the acceptance criteria. So for example, let's say this is the one we are discussing. Yes. Everything is working fine, but they are able to upload any image format, whether it is a JPG, PNG, PDF or text or CSV, any file format they are able to upload, which was not expected out of this. It should support only the JPG format, let's say.
Okay.
Sure. So if this is an issue, you can't close that user story because this is not matching as per the acceptance criteria. This is not fulfilling all the requirement which is expected into this user story.
Okay, sure. Makes sense.
Yeah. So now let's say the testing team will have a look onto here and they will say like, to status. whether everything's working fine or if it's not working fine. So if let's say the testing team they are doing, then we will discuss next topic, which is kind of the testing. They will write the test cases, check what was expected, what are the test cases, what are the input, what are the output, what is actually happening, what went wrong, all those type of things. You will get more idea when we discuss testing. But just imagine how they will do the verification, what was expected and how the functionality is working. For nutshell, now you understand that. Okay.
Sure.
Now let's say the testing team, they found some issue, so it will move from here and it will go back to they will add some comments. They can add the comments into the JIRA or they can send the email, whatever convenient, and then they will move into the rework. So this is moving into the rework again is the responsibility of the testing team now.
Okay.
Now let's say this guy again will see, like my user story again mark into the rework. So again, now is the responsibility of the Amit. He will move again rework, and where it will go?
In progress.
Because now again he need to improve some logic. So let's say the issue which we discussed, the file you can upload any file format which is not expected, right?
Right.
You need to tweak the logic, and now whenever there is a logic change, again it has to go back to the peer review.
Got it.
Understanding? So this is why the testing team and the development team, they keep fighting.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it. So sorry, go ahead, Sandeep. I'll probably ask after.
No, please go ahead.
So let's say while this to and fro is happening between the tech lead and the testers and all that stuff, the time that we have allocated for that particular task, that is exceeding. Or the time frame that is required is going more. What happens in a scenario like that? Of course, we would have considered some buffer time, but then if it still extends, saying that, there's multiple times rework, what happens? What happens at that time?
No, that's good. So now here the Scrum Master will comes into picture. Now he will say like this user story was just one pointer. Okay. So ideally, when we say like this is the one pointer, so this guy should have considered, or even not, this guy, the entire team, they have considered like they will be able to close this, the user story with one pointer, including development, testing, code review, and all those type of things, right? But now 3 days are already, the went, and this user story is still under code review, or maybe let's say under testing. Then the Scrum Master will come into picture, and then he will say, boss, why your user story is not getting closer? Is there anything? Do you need help? Or like what you guys, they have been doing, your planning is not proper. Who is missing? Whether the testing team is not cooperating, or the code review person is not cooperating, or development is getting delayed. What is the actual issue, right? Because you can't keep dragging this user story. Otherwise, what will happen? Your Scrum matrices or your Scrum kind of, the graphs or the KPI, you will, lose the track of them, and you'll not be getting a good, the reports, which will be tracked by your project management and your stakeholders, and sometime, let's say, the kind of, the organization who is funding your project and all those type of things.
Right, got it.
This person comes into picture because it simply doesn't make, any sense. This is the one user story, and you are taking 5 days to just get closer on this one.
Got it. Sure.
Otherwise, what will happen? The piling of the work keep, the adding into your bucket, and on the last, or let's say last 2-3 days, you will be closing all the user story, which means again, you are not following the best practices. Remember, like you should deliver the kind of, the incremental, the deliverables over the entire, the sprint duration.
Sure.
Understanding? So this is what. Now let's say after code review again, this person is fine, then they will put into the testing. Now testing team again will test. If this time is everything fine, then it will go under validation. This is the one. Okay. Now the validation again, this step, the product owner and the BA, or sometimes they involve the client, they will come into picture into the validation phase. 90% the BA and the PO, these guys, they will come. It depends on to, again, your interaction with the clients and all those. So let's say what we discuss here, if let's say the QA is there, then QA will do the testing, and the validation, this is nothing but again, you will do the testing, but from, let's say, the requirement point of view, and you will check again, and then you will say like here, the product owner and the BA, they will check the final testing of the feature, whether this is working as per the expectation or not. But here, let's say if the QA is not there, as I said, like, some of the organization which work into the past, some of them, they have the QA position, other they don't have, they ask the BA to do the testing, the requirements, and, discussion with the clients and all sort of the things.
Okay. Sandeep, one question. Now, the use case, the purpose of a use case is to clearly mention what is the outcome that you are expecting out of a specific requirement.
Yeah. So, you go ahead.
For the test case, what are we going to mention in that? What parameters were used to test it, or?
Yeah. So the use case, you basically understand this is from the end-to-end, the perspective of the requirement. This is kind of, the bigger part of it. But when you come to the testing, you need to, the different type of the testings are there. End-to-end testing also, let's say we do it, the system testing, or we'd say like regression testing and those sort of the things. But when you do the testing, you try to focus from the smallest to the largest kind of, the component of it. And when we say you should have kind of, the input parameter, let's say these are my input, or these are the kind of, my expected output, and then you will match them, what the input you provided. So for example, if you consider a example of, let's say, the login page, okay, the parameter you will consider like my input parameters are, let's say, the username in terms of the alphanumeric, okay, or the username as the input is the email, or the username is my social handle, the name or the account number or something. So that is the one. And then you are saying, okay, password also I provide, for example, let's say alphanumeric password, or with the special character, or only numbers, or only, let's say, combination of them, or any type of the format. So those format or expectations, they are part of your acceptance criteria, which you have written. Like, password should accept the alphanumeric. That is, let's say, that you have written. Now, when you are testing, you will try to do with the positive test cases as well as the negative. We'll discuss more in testing, like you will not only check the valid scenario, but you will check the invalid scenario also. So if the password is expected alphanumeric, so you will check alphanumeric password, you will type correctly, and then you check with them, let's say with special character also, whether the application is accepting that or not. Now, the expectation was there, it should accept the alphanumeric, or let's say the expectation was there, it should accept the email, but instead of the email, it is accepting your phone number also, then it is an issue.
Correct. Okay.
Right. So you will take couple of, the input, and then you will see like what is the expected output. And then you will see, is there any difference or is there any gap between the expected output and the one which you are getting now as a kind of, the having the navigation through the application.
Sure. So acceptance criteria is sort of more or less the base for writing test case.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
You can have it on that. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So now here, so for example, this one, let's say the BA QA is not there, then BA will do the testing part, this one, and then product owner will do the validation or final check. Okay. But if the testing team is there, then the BA and PO, they will do the final check into the validation part.
Okay.
So which means unless this QA is not done the testing, which means kind of, it is not tested, and BA and PO, they will not come into picture and they will not do. And here, let's say once the BA is done, for example, QA is not there, then PO will see like what are the tickets they are available under validation. That means development is done for them, code review is done, the testing is done. Now it is my chance to have a look and check, is there any kind of, the mismatch, or we are deviating from the original requirement and sort of the things.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
And now let's say if it is not, working, then because this guy will do the validation at the very last stage, which means the question which you were asking earlier, maybe we have already crossed the time limit, right? So they will say like, everything is working fine, but, there is just some minor kind of, the mismatch, or this kind of, the good to have things. These are not, the breaking the current, but what we expected as part of this user story, that is delivered. So we can accept this, but those are just the enhancement or improvement. We can add them into the backlog, and as per the priority, you can take into the upcoming or the next sprint.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So sometimes, it goes because there's nothing perfect when you try to deliver a feature. Maybe the product owner, he was not able to convey the idea, and now he are coming kind of, the some of the additional things which can be added along with this feature.
Okay, one question. Now, let's say in a typical situation, I know PO and BA validate this the most. Let's say we involve a client person, and the client says at that time, you know what, this is not exactly what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Of course, we would have already gone back to the client saying,
Yeah.
listen, this is my user story and these are all my understanding.
Yeah.
Do we have a sign off?
Yeah.
Let's say at this stage, they come back and say,
Yeah.
yeah, I know we spoke, but I still feel there is a mismatch.
Yeah.
What happens in this situation? Will they say that, for this particular sprint, we have finished off our work. What we will do, we will consider this as an enhancement, or will it go again back to rework?
Yeah. So what happens, like, again, you have to consider the kind of, the feature, the deliverables which are coming from the client. But again, as I was saying, from the one of the class, like, it is good to have the minutes of the meeting and capture what has been, the discuss. And if you remember, like, we do the sprint review meeting, right?
Yes.
Which we discussed into
Yes.
the last class. So what happens, these type of things, it is kind of, the early handover these features to the client. And now on, let's say, sprint wise, or let's say monthly wise, they are trying to get an hang of kind of, these application, and they'll see like what is happening and what was expected and all those. Now, let's say this is the very recent sprint. In the sprint 1, or let's say sprint 5, we are working, and 1 to 4, everything's okay, but they are saying some improvement onto the current feature or the deliverables. You try to accommodate them. There is nothing, because still the feature, or let's say the entire product, is not yet launched, and there is a chances for the improvement. But now what will happen? So let's say if it was a consultancy project, you need to tell them, like, this is what the agreement we have discussed. We have already spent 2 weeks of the time. If you want these additional feature, if you want the way now which you are saying, there will be additional cost for that, because we need to allocate the additional effort on that, right? So you can't, serve the everything onto the kind of, the same price which you requested. If you need the additional toppings, you need to pay additional money on that.
Got it. Makes sense. Sure.
Yeah. But sometimes what happens, like, the type of the agreement, or let's say the kind of, the request proposal and the quotation for the budget, how they check, like, maybe any minor kind of, the changes which are included up to, let's say, 2 months, or any kind of, the bug fixes, they are included after the project is launched, initial 6 months, we will be supporting to kind of, all the bugs or any production issues. So they depend a lot of the way you negotiated the contract with the client. And maybe they'll say, like, up to 6 months, we will do it free. And then after 6 months, every particular issue, because by the time client also have tested that entire application, so they can't come back after 6 months and say, like, this is not working. This simply
makes sense,
right?
Yeah.
So that means if you are coming after 6 months, every the bug or every feature, this is the pricing, or this is the way, or this is the time, these are the resources, we need to support you.
Okay. One follow-up question. Let's say client has to test it, and they are kind of too busy with certain things, they are unable to allocate time. We have to have them test. Sometimes they will have a proxy saying that somebody below me or another team person of my designation can probably test this. Now we are still not getting any time from anybody. What happens in this situation? What happens to the ticket at that time?
Yeah, so basically, like, this kind of the delay the unnecessarily the project, because you'll see anytime the most of the time they kind of they do the commitment, because they are investing a lot of the money and their project is dependent on that. Maybe their customer or the business, they are dependent on that. So, like, most of the time they pay the close attention, or they designate kind of the third party. If it is the unnecessarily things, then you can just convey them, like, this is what they're getting unnecessarily delay, or you want the help and the support from us, maybe the another round of the testing, or maybe what is your priority for, let's say, the pending issues, do you want to fix them, or maybe just kind of the waiting. Sometimes what happens, like, if you remember, in the one day we have been discussing, like, the product roadmap, right? So the product roadmap, you have the plan, like, by September we are going to finish the launch of the product. Now, if you are not clear in terms of the testing, still the feature, they are not tested, they are not validated, and then client is not supporting, they are not responding, then what will happen? From the September, it will go to October, November, December, and it will kind of the keep postponing your release, because simply you can't release the product, right? So that is the another thing. And then another part, let's say, if they are not kind of the funding your resources, let's say, for example, you are building the product for Citibank, and now you are working with Accenture, and the Citibank is not releasing the more funding because you seems not working onto the type of the project. So what you will do, you will pull out all those resources who are working onto this project, and you will reallocate them somewhere else, right? So these type of the consequences, it will happen. Your project will be delayed, right? You'll not be able to launch into the time. Maybe still, the issues they are pending. Your team reallocation will happen. Those type of the consequences you should be ready to face.
Yeah. Also, in the tool, do we move it to any specific, does it go from validation back to testing or review again, or what happens to something like that?
Yeah. So like this part, which we are saying, the Scrum workflow, this will be kept track into the JIRA. But let's say in terms of at the project level, we call something kind of, the change management tool, ITSM, and those type of, the practices are there. So which will track the entire project, like this project is still into the development phase, or this project is still kind of, into the maintenance, or this project into, let's say, in production, where is this particular, the stage of the project. And there you will do creating, let's say, the tickets, or you will assigning the kind of, the different flow. So you will say like ITSM is the one, and other kind of, other project management tool also. So basically there you will track the real status, and you will say, okay, 5 feature, they went to the production, but the remaining 3 still they are pending. And this is the timeline, this is the budget, and these are the customer review, everything, those sort of the things basically into the project management tool you capture, right?
Got it. Okay, sure, makes sense.
So those type of things works, but those things they comes once, parallel also you can create. So for example, let's say you are doing the release, okay, so you develop those things, and for example, in the next month you are doing a release, so June release you are doing. So that release, you need to create a particular ticket into the incident management system or the release planning system. So like if let's say 1000 customers are already using your application, now you need to inform them in advance, like after 4 days we will be doing, and from 4 o'clock to let's say 6 o'clock the application will be done, and you might not be able to access it. So you receive these type of the things. Most of the time, let's say in Australia, like in the here, we receive the Commonwealth Bank at 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock at the night. They do these maintenance or the release type of the things.
Right.
So you receive, like, the net banking will not be available for a couple of hours. And let's say the trade transaction, they will be kind of, the hold for next 1 day until, the further notice on those type of things. So what they are doing, they are informing in advance the customer. So if any high priority things, if you are doing, so those are the separate software where you manage these type of things. But the one we are discussing now, that is just for the development part, the day-to-day delivery of those tickets.
Got it. Sure.
Clear, Vijay?
Yeah.
And then finally, it will come into the done part. So let's say this person have done the validation, everything is fine, then it will come into the done part. Like that means a particular user story get closure now. So you started with Todo, then in progress. One of the streamline which we miss here, let's say that is the hold or the blocker. Okay. So when this particular status will change, so let's say this person started working on this, the sile, and maybe they have some dependency which is not allowing them to work on this particular user story. Okay. Or let's say some other person is not available where this person needs some help, or let's say the requirement is not clear, or let's say this person itself is the sick, and the other person is trying to work on the user story which is required first, the development of this user story. The reason can be anything, right?
Yeah.
So now the moment this user story is available under hold or the blocker, now the Scrum Master and the technical lead, they will have a look onto this, and they will ask this question to this person, like why your user story is under hold and blocker status, and where they will discuss these type of things.
Daily stand-up.
Yeah, right. So remember, like we have been discussing yesterday, like this is the daily status update. So what you have been doing in the past, what you will do today, and do you have any blocker? Do you need any help to, the keep working for the ticket or the tasks which are assigned to you? And that's where this guy can say, like, I need help here, or this is blocking and all those things. And now the appropriate action can be taken. If let's say the requirements are not clear, so the BA come into picture. If let's say the dependent user story is there, the Scrum team, they need to reallocate their priority, and they need to start working onto the user story which has some dependency on this.
Got it. So if a priority change happens on a ticket, also it may go into hold status.
Not like that. So for example, let's say, yeah, you can do that. So for example, let's say you have taken 5 user story. Okay. Correct. 3 of them team are already working. And
Yes.
then you'll say like these two, we have to, the replace with the additional 2 of the ticket from the backlog, or these 2 are no more priority. We are not going to develop them. So the best practice, you just remove them from the sprint. You
From
don't
the sprint. Okay.
remove from the sprint, or for the time being, you can put them into the hold or block. And the moment you are closing the sprint, then you can move them back into the backlog steps.
Okay. Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah. So this is pretty much, the happen into the Scrum workflow. Okay.
Sure.
I think that's all we'll discuss. So tomorrow, what we will see, tomorrow we will see the Scrum matrices, like how the team is performing in general.